Hi, it's Claire and welcome to Need or Say More. So what I want to focus on today is these rips that are in my daughter's jeans. So these are a size 3 to 4, so they're quite a narrow leg, so it's going to be a bit of a thick fiddly challenge. So it's got a rip here and it's got a rip here. Now for some people they'll be like, that's absolutely fine, but my daughter always says that they're broken and she won't put them on. So I'm going to come up with a little repair that'll easily fix this and make them look great. I've got this cat fabric. So this was a frill around one of her t-shirts when she was younger, and I've used the top bit to make a memory quilt, but this bit isn't quite deep enough for the patches, so I'm going to make a little applique patch to go over the knees using this because she really loves cats. So this is going to be the top layer. Then I've got some denim scrap that I'm going to put underneath. So this is from when I made my denim dress, so this is left over, and because this is quite a rough thick denim, this is going to be great for reinforcing the knee, but I'm almost going to sandwich it in between so it still feels soft against her leg once it's done. I'm going to start off by making a small template for the knee. So there is some stitching that is coming apart here, so I want it to completely cover the knee. So what I'm going to do is put this pattern paper over, and I'm going to really roughly draw a heart. Don't worry, this isn't going to be the final template. This is just so I know how big I want the heart to be. So yeah, that's going to cover all of these kind of loose threads in the whole area, but it's not going to go over the seam, so it'll be easy for it to put on. So using my paper scissors, I'm just going to roughly cut around that part. Now this is really wonky and I wouldn't want to use this, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to fold the heart in half so that the heart that I cut out is a complete mirror image. Cut around it. So I think it's just a bit high at the top there, and I want it to be a little bit deeper. So I'm just going to come round back to this bit. Yeah, I think that looks much better. I think it just needs to be a bit deeper at the top. I'm just going to place that over the knee. Yeah, I'm happy with the size of that. I think that's going to look great. And let's just check on this leg as well. Yeah, perfect. I'm going to use this template 6 times. So I want 4 of these to do the front and back and 2 of the denim. I've got my 2 hearts here ready to applique on, and then I'm just going to try and use a little bit on the back, and I don't think I'm going to cut this out. I think I'm just going to sew around it using this edge, and then I'll trim it off afterwards. So I couldn't be as economical with the fabric as I wanted to, because I wanted to make sure that there was a cat in either one, whereas if I just put my heart anywhere on here, I could have ended up with like a bit of a cat's back and its tail, which I don't think she'd have liked. I think she'd have just said cat's bum bum at me all the time. So I've tried to go with a cat's head on each one, and I want it so they're kind of looking at each other. So then I'm just going to layer it on top of this. So the purpose of layering it with the jersey is so she's got that nice soft jersey against her leg when she's wearing it, rather than having the rough denim. So then I'm going to take these and pin them onto the jeans. The little cat's hearts now need pinning onto the jeans. It's probably easier to go this way down the leg. And I just want to make sure that I go through the top layer of the jean so I'm not sewing the leg together. So I'm making sure the heart is fully covering the rib. And I want it central in the middle of the leg. So this looks a bit scruffy, a little patch underneath, but we'll neaten that up in a minute. So I don't want my pins on the edge because I want to sew around the edge of this. So I'm just going to put 3 in the middle, kind of going out to the different points of the heart, just to hold it stable for me while I sew it, but so I can kind of get in and around the heart. So I'm actually going to use 4. So I want one right up here in this curve of the heart. That's much better. I might put one on this side as well. So there we go. So I've just put some pins here, mostly in the middle, but they're just going to hold that nice and flat while I'm sewing it. You're probably looking at this thinking those legs are tiny. How are we going to get in there to sew? We're going to make sure the zip's fully open. We're going to come down like that, being really careful that we're not sewing through both legs. Because the cat fabric is purple, I've gone for a slightly darker purple. This was the only purple I had in my sewing box. I don't think my daughter will mind. I don't think she would expect it to be matching, and quite often kids' clothes are quite colourful. And this one is a silky one, so it's quite a nice shiny one, so it'll be strong and have a nice sheen to it. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in my machine. To sew around the heart, I want use a zigzag, but I'm going to make it look like it's been professionally put on, like these were part of the jeans initially. So I'm going to take it down to a 2 width zigzag. So this will be a little bit narrower. On your machine you might have a dial, and there might be a tiny zigzag, medium zigzag, and then a wider zigzag. So experiment with how to get a narrow zigzag on your machine. So this will be 2 millimeters, and then I'm going to take the stitch length right down to 0.5 millimeters. And again, the stitch length, you can have tiny stitches, medium and big. Experiment on your machine, because I want it to be a really narrow zigzag that's really close together. So before I start sewing, I'm just going to use a tiny scrap of the denim with the jersey on, and I'm just going to check I'm happy with it before I start sewing on my machine. So I think that does look quite effective. I might make the zigzag just a little bit wider, so it's more of a statement. Let's have a look at it this time on 3, so it's going to be a wider zigzag this time. Yeah, I think that looks much better. I'm going to take the stitch length down to 3 now, because it's a nice wide zigzag, but there's still little gaps between it. Oh, that looks absolutely perfect. So I'm going to have to go sew really carefully so it doesn't bunch up, but I think it's going to give me a really professional finish. So that is 3 millimeters stitch length and 3 millimeters width. taken the pins out, and before I sew around it a second time, I'm going to cut off the excess jersey to make it easier to get into. So when you're cutting round, you want to make sure you get in through the layer of jersey and neatening it up, but not cutting the denim underneath, because if we cut a hole in it, we've kind of undone what we've been doing so far. And here the denim has slipped out a little bit, so I'm just going to try and cut that off as well. It's really hard to keep 3 layers all exactly on top of each other, so I'm kind of glad that I did the jersey a little bit bigger to stop it slipping. And then I'm going to be really careful coming into the tip of the heart here that I don't cut into the jeans. There we go, so I've cut round it and neatened it off, so it should make it much easier for me to sew round out. I've just spotted that, I'm not quite happy with it, so I'm going to neaten it up a little bit, sew round it again. So the knees are repaired, so I've put the cats on the knees and that is all done. But I'm now looking at it and I've got this bit of purple ribbon left over from something, or it was wrapped around a gift. And I'm thinking about putting little purple bows on the knee, and then so they don't look so plonked on, I'm thinking about cutting out a cat and doing it on the back as well, maybe here, so it kind of all fits together. I'm gonna cut 2 lengths of ribbon. There's a little measuring tape on my sewing machine, so I'm just gonna use this one. 20 centimetres long. And I'm gonna sew these onto the jeans. Now, on most jeans, having an appliqué patch and then a bow on the top would look a bit much, but I think with kids' clothes they can be as fun as they want to be. So I'm going to pop my machine back onto a straight stitch for this. So I'm going to place the ribbon in the dip of the heart. So I'm going to place it there, and I'm just going to do a couple of stitches back and forth halfway on the ribbon. So I'm going to fold the ribbon in half, make a little crease, and then if you imagine, I can't really see because it's under my machine, and I'm going to do a couple of stitches forward and back on this section of the heart. In the middle at the top of the heart, just going to tie it in a bow now. I think that looks really sweet. Now, because I don't want to spend the rest of my daughter's time wearing these, hearing the bows come undone, I'm just going to do a couple of stitches forward and back there just to secure it. So in about 45 minutes, we've managed to sew on these patches and the little bows. I'm a bit annoyed that I didn't cut that out lower and think about the bow sooner, because the bow is covering that one's face. Oh well, this one looks better because it's got the cap below and it's got the bow on. I think my daughter is going to absolutely love them. She'll probably call them her cat jeans and think they're really cool. And then on the inside, because we've backed it with the jersey, you've got the nice soft jersey on the inside, so it's going to feel really nice and soft against her knee rather than having rough denim against her. If you've got any questions or any other repair ideas, please let me know in the comments.